Chaita Guru, Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru. How many gurus do you know? Not how many people, how many types of gurus do you know? Once we counted Raghunath Das Goswami. He had, was it 9 or 7? I think 9 gurus. He had 9 gurus. So then the question is, which one of his gurus was most important? Which one is the most important? He had 9 gurus. Yadunandanacharya was his mantra guru who gave him initiation, diksha. Then, when he came on the way to meet Mahaprabhu, he got the blessing of Nityananda Prabhu by putting on that yogurt and rice festival. You've heard about this. Well, who is Nityananda? He is Baladev. He is an original Guru Tattva. So is it possible that he served Nityananda Prabhu and abided by his order, but he doesn't find any guru is there? Only he sees Vaishnav there, only devotee. So Guru Tattva, Nityananda Prabhu is also his guru. Then Nityananda Prabhu sent him to Puri, and Mahaprabhu turned him over to Swarup Damodar and said, you will give him training. So then Swarup Damodar became his guru, became his teacher. Living in Puri at that time was Namacharya Haridas Thakur. He's the Acharya of chanting of the holy names. Could he just pass him by? No, he is not my guru. No, he had to accept also. He is my guru, Namacharya Haridas Thakur. Rup Sanatan are also living there. That's the Sambandhana Acharya and the Abhideya Acharya. These two foremost of the 6 Goswamis. Later, Raghunath Das Goswami, he lived long time under the care of Rupan Sanatan. He lived for a long time in Puri under the care of Mahaprabhu and Swarup Damodar. But also it's to mention that living there at that time is Gadadhar Pandit also. Gadadhar Pandit is is Guru Tattva for the Madhurya Ras Bhaktas in Chaitanya Lila. Mahaprabhu is the principal deity. The Madhurya devotees, they are under Gadadhar Pandit. And the Vatsalya and other devotees, they are under Nityananda Prabhu. So he is accepting also Gadadhar Pandit as Guru also. He is Radha Bhav. He is the incarnation of Radharani. So can he not accept that as Guru? So also Gadadhar Pandit, he accepted as Guru. After the disappearance of Mahaprabhu, all these great personalities began to vanish from the earth very quickly, and Raghunath Das was in great despair. He decided to commit suicide. He decided to take the path of suicide. The world became so bleak in the absence of Mahaprabhu, and all devotees leaving one after the other. As Narottam Das prays, what will we do now? They're all gone, beating our head on the stone, beating my head on the stone. It is not a happy day when the Lord's devotees vanish from this world, from our sight. So he was very distressed, and he decided to give up his life, and he thought that the best way, if he can jump from the top of Govardhan Hill, in this way he will finish his life. So actually this is love despair. If you have seen Govardhan Hill, you'd have to jump about 100 times. You'd do better off a garage roof. It is not very high. Climb a temple, a tree even. But Govardhan Hill is very gentle. There's nowhere to jump from. But that would let me go to Govardhan, jump from Govardhan Hill. So anyway, because that was his heart's sentiment. So he went to Govardhan with this in mind, but there he found Rupa and Sanatan. They were living there on the order of Mahaprabhu, and he found that Mahaprabhu is living in Rupa and Sanatan. This is what he found there. That his Supreme Lord is living within their hearts. Rupa and Sanatan, they are what is the proper word? The counter extensions of Mahaprabhu, non-different than Mahaprabhu. They are Rupa Sanatan, but yet he found them non-different. So then he gave up this idea of jumping from Govardhan Hill, and he remained under them for many years. So I may have left someone out of the equation. So Raghunath Das Goswami has shown us in his life that he had many, many gurus who first may bring us in some connection to Krishna consciousness. Maybe it is our parents, maybe a friend at school, some general connection where we get drawn towards the first Sunday feast, whatever it is, something at home, a Back to Godhead magazine. That person who first puts us in connection to Krishna is called Vartmana Pradarshika, guru. Well, we may have many of these types of gurus, but it is said you should only have one mantra guru. You should only have one initiating guru. But Shiksha gurus, you may have many. So mostly Raghunath Das Goswami, he had many gurus that gave him much instruction and guided him through his career. Then he himself is known as the Prayojanacharya. He shows us the highest perfection of devotion in the line of in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das Goswami, he announces to the world what is the highest aspiration and an achievement for a Gaudiya Vaishnava, for a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is that highest achievement? He announces this in his prayers and in his poems, in his poetic expressions at the very end of his life. He announces this, and therefore he is known as the Prayojanacharya. So what is that perfection? What is that highest perfection of any Gaudiya Vaishnava? Anyone venture to say offhand? It is the thing that Prabhupada saw in his father when he was a boy, but did not recognize in him until he had become a disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. There was something in Prabhupada's father that later, as a disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, as a Gaudiya Vaishnava, then Prabhupada could understand, oh, my father was pure devotee of Krishna. When he was growing up, he had no such understanding of pure devotee of Krishna or not, his father. His father was a father. He used to get him to buy not just one toy gun, but 2 toy guns. And all the things that a boy begs from his father when going through the market. But as an adult, as a disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, then he came to note one very special thing in his father that then he boldly wrote in the Krishna book, dedicating this book, we call the Krishna book, to his father, Gaur Mohan De, a pure devotee of Krishna. But if you study Gaur Mohan De's life, then in Calcutta alone there are 3 million such pure devotees of Krishna. They worship Krishna at home, and they go to the shop. And they come back, and they visit temples, and they give some gifts to sadhus, and they do different things like this. So what is it that distinguishes his father different from so many other Hindu gentlemen raising their family in a pious India close to 100 years ago? It is that very thing which is announced by Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, he announced that our highest aspiration is to aspire in the line of service to Srimati Radharani. It is called Radha dasyam, service of Srimati Radharani. It supersedes even service to Krishna. And this Prabhupada's father was doing all along when Prabhupada was a boy. You'll read in Satsvarup Maharaja's recollections, what is it called, the book? The Lila Amrita. Prabhupada is telling, my father used to gather many sadhus. And he would take care of them in so many, even he would give them a hookah. A hookah, you know what a hookah is? A hookah is a pipe. Well, that was the social custom. That was the order of the day. Now it's low-fat yogurt. But in those days, so many sadhus of different types, and what the sadhus, they have a hookah, they offer the hookah. If Maharaj Chaitanya offers me a hookah, you will all get up and walk out. He's bogus, hookah. But Prabhupada's father had a hookah and offered the sadhus. That was a basic idea. What the sadhu he wants, they'll be happy. Then, of course, he would give them laddu, puri, sabji, very, very nice. And then he would ask a benediction, some ashirwad, some blessing. He would ask. And what did he ask? What did Prabhupada's father ask those sadhus? Generally, those of us who know India very well, it's health, wealth, a green card. These types of things people are always asking. Last winter, after having a program in this one house, every Saturday for 3 months, one of the regular attendants and their family, they're very, very nice, but they came, "Oh, Maharaj, please bless Piyush. He's going for exam, he should high score. He should get high score." I said, "My blessings have nothing to do with high scores. With my blessing, you'll fail." I'm not a scholar. I have no scholar blessings. But people generally want that. But what Prabhupada would ask? "Please bless my son that he will become a devotee of Srimati Radharani and spread her glories all over the world." So, as a youth, this made some sense, but little to no sense, in a sense, so to speak. Then, when Prabhupada met his eternal master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then everything came into clear purpose. What is his purpose in this world? What he will do. Well, this is all going on in the plane of Leela of the eternally liberated souls. Some people think that when they're born, they're in their mother's arms, thinking, "Well, I'm just waiting to start my movement, rocking in their mother's arms." No. Then they are acting as a child. Prabhupada used to laugh and talk about his Maya. He used to call it his Maya. He was a follower of Gandhi. And when he said that, we would say, "Oh, Prabhupada, no Maya for you." But he would laugh. So even a liberated soul comes into this world. He does not manifest, in most cases, why he's come here until he makes the connection with the line of Mahaprabhu, that descending line of the Supreme Lord. And making that connection, then things come down to him and are revealed. What is your purpose here? What is your mission here? So that is the announcement of Raghunath Das Goswami, that he has announced in his writings, in his prayers, his deep, heartfelt aspiration for the service of Radharani. You all know Radhakund, and you know many people come to Radhakund. And these days, and in past times also, many people come and they do what is called Dandabat Parikram of Radhakund. They go by full Dandabats, put one stone, walk to the place of the stone, again go down and offering prayers. In this way they go around Radhakund. It takes a couple of hours, just Radhakund. Radhakund Dandabats. So one day, in the old days, the king of Bharatpur came. And the king of Bharatpur, with his royal family, was doing Dandabat Parikram of Radhakund. Then the personal servant of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who happened to be there at that time, he came running to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and he told, "Oh, Guru Maharaj, the Diwan of Bharatpur has come, and with the whole family they're doing Parikram of Radhakund." And he said, it is wonderful that they have such devotion for Srimati Radharani to do this. Then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he shocked everyone there. He said, "Actually, their devotion is just the opposite of ours." He said, "They have heard that Radharani is dear to Krishna. And they are focused on Krishna, but they've heard Radharani is dear to Krishna, so they're coming to honor Radharani." He said, "Ours is just the opposite. The only reason we have any interest in Krishna is because he is dear to Radharani. This side, we are on this side, not on that side." When you've gone through the whole thing, you realize, oh, we're shuddha-shaktas. We are worshippers of the energy of Godhead, the devotional energy of Godhead. If you don't believe it, then just start reading Prabhupada's books carefully, and you'll find that that's what it's all about. The whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam is to present one thing, only one thing, and that is that Radharani is the foremost servant of Krishna. Radharani alone is the one who can please Krishna. She is the mother of devotional energy. And as a jiva soul, our highest attainment is to come in a line of service in the descending line of her grace. That is known as the Chaitanya Saraswat Parampara. The Parampara that we are in. If you go through the list, who are they? Who is Mahaprabhu? Who is Gadadhar? Who are all these persons? And then you come to the 6 Goswamis, and who they are. Rupa, Sanatan, Raghunath Das Goswami. They are all those gopi people who came down here in the form of Rupa and Sanatan. All, since then, all the way to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, all of the acharyas in our line, who they are in eternal Leela of Krishna, it is known. Up to the time of Bhakti Siddhanta. After that, it is not known who any of them were. But you will find it throughout our books, various letters, just like once somebody wrote, what did they say? They wrote Srila Prabhupada and they said something about one of the Astashakis, that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta is an Astashaki. And then Prabhupada wrote back and told, these are very high topics, and they are not for general discussion. But as far as I know, my Guru Maharaj is not one of the Astashakis. He is Manjari, named Nayanamani Manjari. You follow? So up to that point, who they are in that eternal world, that has been revealed. But after that point, it has not been revealed. And I offer no explanation for that, other than it is a fact. It has not been revealed after that who any of them have been since that time till now. But it is clear that the line of service that is brought down by them goes to a particular place. It doesn't go to Vaikuntha. If someone offered you the chance to go to Vaikuntha today, would you take it? Vaikuntha, eternal life in Vaikuntha. Best say no, because as I tell the devotees, because Prabhupada's not there to greet you. He's not in Vaikuntha. Mahaprabhu is not there to greet you. Nityananda Prabhu, Achyutananda, the Sankirtan, they're not there to greet you in Vaikuntha. Maybe Advaitacharya. And then he would say, what are you doing here? Move on. There was recently a debate or discussion. Can Advaitacharya give Brajabhav? I don't know if you devotees see the internet every once in a while, but there was a conflict with some devotees because everyone was so very interested in Brajabhav. So someone was saying that Advaitacharya cannot give you Brajabhav because he's Sadashiva Mahavishnu. He's Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. But Advaitacharya brought Mahaprabhu down to this world. Then he turns us over to Nityananda Prabhu, you see. Oh yes, he does not give the direct introduction into Vrindavan, but he gives introduction to Mahaprabhu. He brings Mahaprabhu to this world, and he gives introduction to Nityananda Prabhu. And Nityananda Prabhu, he will take us to Mahaprabhu. And then Mahaprabhu, and it doesn't stop there, but according to a devotee's service mentality, just as Raghunatha Das Goswami, he will be turned over to a particular leader of servitors. As Das Goswami, he made it all the way to the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. Then Mahaprabhu said, you be with Swarup Damodar, you'll be under his care. So in the eternal world, we will be under the care of different devotees of the Supreme Lord, according to our devotional aptitude. Sometimes I like to call it achievement, a devotional achievement. That achievement is just a feeling. It's just a feeling. In the end, Krishna consciousness is just about cultivating a feeling. All that you know in this world will vanish at the time of death. Everything goes, and this big feeling overwhelms us. That's what we feel the most. Darkness comes, sound goes away. There's a feeling. So for those who are not God conscious, that feeling is all about matter, it's all about anxiety, that feeling is all about fear, attachment, and all these things. But for a devotee, that feeling is all about love. Bhava, love, prema, the feelings of love towards Krishna. So they are as they are in this world. There's different types of love. Love with friends, love with family, love with a lover. That's the kama, that worldly love. The pure love of Krishna, it also has such flavor as friend, as a son, as lover. Different types of feelings are there, different types of love. According to one's qualification in that way, then one will go in a particular group of servitors. So if you were offered liberation, even to Vaikuntha, don't take it. If you were offered Brahma Jyoti, certainly you wouldn't take that. You'd shoot that down right away, right? Or mystic powers. But then again, mystic powers might be all right for a little while, right? We could materialize some new Sankirtan vans and a few other things that we might need. But actually, no, we don't want mystic power. No, we don't want impersonal liberation, and we don't want Vaikuntha liberation either. We don't want that place. We must bow our head and say, no, we don't want Vaikuntha. I'll wait. I'll wait for the time when an opportunity comes down that I will serve my Lord in Goloka. Or in Nabadweep. Sometimes we forget. Nabadweep. Generally we think Goloka is everything. And and also Nabadweep. This is nice. Nabadweep is also there. But actually, Nabadweep is more wonderful than Goloka. Goloka, Vrindavan, is called Madhu. It is sweet. But Nabadweep is sweetness with magnanimity. In Vrindavan, the magnanimity is very less. One must be highly qualified there. It is very restricted. It is not open to everyone and anyone. Magnanimity is less. But Chaitanya Lila, Nabadweep, the eternal Nabadweep, that is Madhurya, Madhu, sweetness, and magnanimity. It is actually greater. You have a cup full of nectar, and then you have another cup which is overflowing the nectar. One cup full of nectar, that is Krishna Lila. And one cup full of nectar and overflowing, that is Chaitanya Lila. So actually we should give more importance to Chaitanya Lila in our meditation, in our contemplation, our thought. We should give more importance to Chaitanya Lila than we do to Krishna Lila. Not neglect Krishna, not neglect Vrindavan, but no entrance into Vrindavan without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, actually. Yeah, in the Renaissance period, many kings, even the king of Burma came. Burma? Yeah. Even the king of Rangoon. He built the Radha Krishna temple near Gopeshwar Mahadev, right next to Brindakunj, near Boot Gully, near the Gwalior temple. There's one old temple built there. What he knows about this Krishna Bhakti, he doesn't know very much, but it became a very cultural renaissance. It came to a point that even the Sri Vaishnavas of South India, they had to come up and build a big temple in Vrindavan, because if you're not in Vrindavan, you're nowhere. You're nobody. You see? It's like if you're into films, then you will be at the Cannes Film Fest, or you're nobody. You'll be at the Sundance Film Fest, or you're nobody in the film world. You see? And Vrindavan became such a place, you're not represented in Vrindavan. What you are in spiritual life? Nothing. Oh, that almost became a thing of prestige. What does prestige got to do with spiritual life? Nothing. So there's been a lot of this also going on in Vrindavan. Actually, the real thing is, only by the grace of the foot dust of Mahaprabhu and his followers, then we can enter Vrindavan. Not by just buying land, not by getting a big throne for ourselves, getting prestige and honor for ourselves, and so many things like that. There's a... Mother Sachi, she used to wonder, from time to time, she would wonder deeply, what is the position of her son? Advaita Acharya used to come down to her house and offer obeisances to that boy. And Advaita Acharya was the most dignified scholar, in the Vaishnava scholar, in the whole of the Navadvip Mandal. And he used to come and bow down in front of the Mahaprabhu when he was a baby. So this used to trouble her mind. This is very bad for my son. This is very bad. This was not good. Such a high person bowing down to my son. This is very bad. So throughout Mahaprabhu's life, she used to wonder in many ways why things are happening, why people are doing, and sometimes wonder who he is. But Yogamaya would eventually always cover her, and she'd then just be charmed by the beauty of her child, or the youthful movements of her son, and so forth. So once, if we think about something a lot, then generally we have dreams about that. So once, Mother Sachi had a dream, and what she saw in the dream is that, actually first there was two things. First, Nityananda Prabhu, he came to Navadvip, and after the meeting of Mahaprabhu, then meeting with Mahaprabhu, then Nityananda Prabhu, he announced, I have come from Vrindavan. I have just come from Vrindavan, but the thrones are empty. The Lord is not to be found in Vrindavan. He has taken his birth in Navadvip. The thrones are empty. So this assurance he gave to the devotees, that the Krishna of Braj has become our Lord here in Navadvip, posing as a devotee. but he is non-different than the Krishna of Braj. And Krishna of Braj, he's gone. And until Mahaprabhu went there, almost gone. That Krishna of Braj are all hidden away. After Mahaprabhu, Krishna went back to Vrindavan, then the temples, then the deities came back, and they were manifest. There were only a few that were still visible. Then so many manifested. So first Nityananda Prabhu announced that Vrindavan is empty. The Lord has come to Nabadweep. So then later, Mother Sachi had the dream, and in her dream, she saw Krishna and Balaram on a throne in Vrindavan. Then Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu came there. And then Nityananda Prabhu, he told, you get off the throne. Your time is over. Come down. My Lord, Gauranga is here. Your time is over. Come down. And then Balaram said, what do you say? This is my brother Krishna. He is Lord of Vrindavan. He will always be on this throne. He cannot know it. No, your time is over. Come. And then Nityananda Prabhu began to fight with Balaram. And he pulled them off the throne. Pulled them down from the throne. This throne is meant for Gauranga in Kali Yuga. Gauranga is on the throne. So, it's like a circle. Once it gets going in a circle, where's the point of starting? It's a circle. It just keeps going and going and going. So generally but we should move with the flow. You see, we should move with the flow, and we should understand the importance of Nabadweep, Chaitanya Lila, how that will take us in a deeper connection with Krishna Lila. And in a deeper connection with Krishna Lila, we will find a deeper appreciation for Chaitanya Lila, and it begins to go in a circle, and pretty soon you become a madman. You have read it? In the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada said the purpose, the goal is to become mad in love of Krishna. Become mad. Are you ready to become a madman? Are you ready to become a slave? Because there are no servants of God. There are only slaves of God. Even service isn't profound enough. Why? Because service you can withdraw. Oh, why? I don't like it. I'll go back. But if I own this Loda, where it can go? Nowhere. It is mine. I own it. It is my property. Similarly, the devotees, they are owned by Krishna. They are his energy. They are his property. So even service isn't quite a strong enough, servant is not quite strong enough to really bring it home. And when people hear slave, it's like, oh my God, what is this gentleman saying? It is such a bad thing. Yes, in this world, slavery is the worst of things. But everything just the opposite there. A slave of love, nothing could be finer. Nothing could be sweeter. Nothing is more rewarding than to be a slave in love of the Supreme Lord. So, what is the point there? What happened?
You were talking about Radha Rani following the Radha's line.
Something about Mahaprabhu. Oh, Mahaprabhu. Mm-hmm. Mahaprabhu.
The dream.
Mm. Oh, so now both sides, Krishna. Oh yes, there. So I said about becoming mad. So it is said that there are actually 3 types of madmen in this Krishna consciousness movement. Be a mad man, mad woman, but 3 types. Those are very much favorable to Krishna Lila, very much drawn to Krishna, Krishna Lila, Radha Krishna. Those who are very attracted to Gaur Lila, Gaurnitai, Gaur Gadadhar, Panchatattva, Chaitanya Lila, and those who are drawn to both. The destination of those souls is also accordingly. If one is drawn towards Krishna Lila and can reach that perfection of love in this life, then he'll rise to become an eternal resident in Goloka. If one is more given to Chaitanya Lila, then he may become an eternal resident in the Nabadweep section of Goloka. But if he is equally mad for both, as is in the case with many devotees, then the soul will live in 2 worlds at once. He will be in 2 places at once. That place is nothing like this place. We say it's a reflection. That is after we've stretched the imagination. There is practically nothing here like that world. Everything here is limited. Even when we say the infinite, our concept of infinite, that is limited. You see. Here, how many people can sit in a room? 20, 25, 30. Pretty soon it's full. If this room is any given room in Goloka, then 100,000 cowherds could sit in this room together. No pushing, no shoving, no lack of space. Why? Because that space is infinite. It is infinite space. This is finite space. Therefore, in a gallon jug, you can only put, 32 ounces. You can't put 100 ounces in a gallon jug because that space is limited. But that much space in the spiritual world could hold all the oceans of the material world. Or just pouring that jug, you could fill up those oceans many times over. Infinite, it's not very big, it's infinite. It's more than big. We generally think of the infinite as just the biggest one, biggest yet, and a little bigger than that, but big isn't even word. Isn't even the proper word. No limitations there. Sometimes we find in Chaitanya Lila that people are not just one person from that spiritual world, they're three persons. I think Ramananda Roy, he is considered as Arjuna, who was the Pandava. He is considered as Vishaka, as in Lalita Vishaka, Radha Krishna. And also he is considered as a cowherd boy named Arjuna. Three. He is considered as a 3-in-1, so to speak. So even we're saying, I'm not this body, even we're saying I'm spirit soul, all these things are quite intellectual for us. The experience is waiting. And the experience is mostly found on the other side, entering in the world where nothing is matter. We say we're not this body, but we begin every day by waking up, which is a function of the body, waking up. And we do everything through the day in relation to this body, you see. We even stop chanting Hare Krishna when we are tired, you see. We even take prasadam when we are hungry. Why don't you take it when you're not hungry? Well, we do that too, actually. That's sometimes our problem, right? The point is that we are working with a theory. Krishna is God. We say theory, not like modern theory. It's not a theory that has no experience. But the bulk of that experience is waiting there, you see. Now, in these modern days, many devotees are very given to Krishna Lila. And they want always to talk about Krishna Lila. And they want always to talk about the Madhurya Lila within Krishna. And they even sometimes criticize book distribution, different types of, not different types, but overall sankirtan, sometimes even preaching. They criticize that in favor of just bhajan, just doing bhajan. But these persons, what we say is, these persons have overlooked something very, very important. That this sankirtan movement is the Leela of Mahaprabhu. It's not something else that we're doing. It is the activity of Mahaprabhu. In other words, like a rug, if you take it and you go like this wave starts across the rug, right? It's just a ripple, right? Oh, because sometimes it ends, right? But this Sankirtan movement, it hasn't ended since the day it began. Mahaprabhu, he gave that wave, the Sankirtan. He inaugurated the Sankirtan. Sometimes Prabhupada used to give report. He is dancing in that Sankirtan. It is going on eternally also in Nabadweep. I heard once from one of the oldest disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He said, in the beginning when nothing was here at Mayapur, we used to live with our guru, and in the middle of the night, we would hear some kirtan, some sankirtan. We could hear the kartals mridanga, the chanting. And Guru Maharaj used to say, that is the eternal sankirtan of Mahaprabhu. Now at Mayapur you also hear something, but that is someone's loudspeaker blaring. And probably it's a Sahajiya Kirtan coming from Swarupganj across the river. or just a wedding sound or something. So many sounds are filling there. Sound pollution. We say sound pollution. But the eternal pastimes of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement going on. And this Sankirtan movement that we have become a part of by joining into Krishna consciousness, this is not some lesser thing. This is actually that wave that was started by Mahaprabhu. And he told this wave will go to every town and village of the world for many, 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 many centuries. Some people say, or some Purana says, 10,000 years it may go on. It may even exceed that also. It may exceed that. This wave is said it will even reach to higher planetary systems. So Sankirtan Lila, Prabhupada wrote, is Rasa Lila. Sankirtan Lila is Rasa Lila. It is non-different. If you want Krishna, the meaning is this: if you want Krishna, then give yourself fully in cooperation to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Enter through the Sankirtan movement. Entering in the Sankirtan, we are immediately engaged in the Lord's pastimes. You follow. Even though here in this world we have so many less qualifications. We are not fit for that. But that is His magnanimity. You are not fit for that. But will you accept this gift? We say yes. Then you have it. And we can enter into the Lord's pastimes with Sankirtan. And then, Sankirtan means service. Service. The pot washer is also in the Sankirtan movement. The bookkeeper is in the Sankirtan movement. The book printer is in the Sankirtan movement. The preacher, the Bhagavatam preacher, the college preacher, the mridanga player, the kartal player. Ideally, it should be even those who take care of the children. They are also in the Sankirtan movement. Prabhupada's conception was, there was no Maya in the movement. Everything is in the Sankirtan movement. Having children is in the Sankirtan movement. Raising children is in the Sankirtan. It is all about a Sankirtan movement. So there are so many services in the Sankirtan movement. These services are most essential for our progress and our advancement. Prasadam. The thing you eat 3 times a day, the thing that Prabhu brought on a plate, prasadam. What is prasadam? What is our realization of prasadam? Sometimes in taking prasadam, Mahaprabhu would become very emotional. Sometimes he would become very anxious and shout. He would shout about that prasadam. Oh, it is tasted by Krishna. Sometimes he would shed tears. Sometimes he would become choked up. And sometimes all at once, everything. He is taking prasadam. But we are taking prasadam for granted. It is food. That is our mistake. Or we are taking prasadam for enjoyment. That is our even bigger mistake. No, maybe not bigger, but that is also a mistake. I think it is Upadeshamrita. I don't know which verse. Maybe first verse. I forget it. But Srila Prabhupada writes there that if one takes Mahaprasadam to satisfy his senses, just for the taste of it, then he'll fall victim of the senses, Maya, be captured by Maya. Mahaprasad, it is Mahaprasadam, but it has been spoiled. We are captured by, we have victimized ourselves with the enjoying spirit. So prasadam is honored. Prasadam is honored. Once Prabhupada's plate came out of his room in Vrindavan, and I said, yes, I don't mind if I do. And I just went to take a rasgula that was sitting on Prabhupada's plate. And a servant just moved the plate. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? I'm a sannyasi. Why do you think I got this danda? This is Duri anyway. Then he picked up the rasgula and he just crumbled it into the dal and just dropped it into the dal. Then he took the sweet rice and poured that in the dal. And I just said, whatever. And I just sat there watching him, and he turned it all into that thing. And then he poured it on the plate, and he went like this. And it all went, if you've been in India, it went that yellowy green color. Everything just became that yellowy turmeric dal green color. Then he scooped up a scoop. I said, yes, I will. And I took one scoop of that Mahaprasadam. And I was in my mind, I was thinking, whatever. And then he said, he saw my wonder. Prabhupada told me yesterday to do this to his Mahaprasadam. Otherwise, devotees will eat it just for sense gratification. And then from that day, for the next 7 or 8 months, Prabhupada's Mahaprasadam was only distributed in that way, mixed like this. So, of course, we don't just, okay, smush everything like this. People think we're mad, you see. But sometime, some particular thing will descend in the company of very high and genuine Vaishnavas, and then that will be followed. Maybe not for all time, but for that time following in a particular mood, or some instruction is given there. So the instruction was not, make sure you mush all the prasadam together. That's not the instruction. The instruction is, do not become the enjoyer. Remember, it is Krishna's mercy. Somebody asked me how you became a devotee. I said, prasad. And they thought, oh, Maharaj is an old devotee, must have been some high philosophical points or something. I said, no, I became a devotee for prasadam, and I remain a devotee because of prasadam. Well, what is prasadam? It is the Lord's mercy. I became a devotee by His mercy. I remain a devotee by His mercy. Independent of His mercy, finished, gone. So how we can keep always the mercy of the Supreme Lord is to catch the feet of the devotees. Catch the feet of His dear devotees. That is our best way to access His mercy. So, Hare Krishna. Gaura. I don't want to just go on and on. I know that you have different agendas, being that this is the middle of the week or something. So I'll just stop, and if there are any questions.
We are enjoying your...
Just see. He's enjoying. Yeah. Oh, so since we touched upon that, if I am asked, what is the most important thing you think that could be done for the devotees in general to improve upon the Krishna consciousness movement as it is today, I would say, and I did say last week when I was asked this, that the devotees should, according to their capacity, try to develop a deeper understanding of even those things which are seemingly very ordinary, you see. I'm a plain speaking type of a person. I don't calculate any, what do you call it? Not politics, but... yeah, something I should say because it will get a certain result. I try to say something that's very truthful. I have heard in the greater ISKCON movement that women clamor to be called Prabhu. But actually all devotees are called Prabhu. But you should clamor. Call me your servant. Call me your dog. Why you want to be called master? Hey, call me master, eh? Call me master. Where did we learn this? Call me master. Call me your dog. Call me your servant. Huh? But we lose sight of this. What we are looking for what? What type of... In the association, I met Prabhupada's sister. I was a sannyasi, that time a young sannyasi. I offered my obeisances to Prabhupada's sister, Pishima. And we also told old Prabhu, we maybe addressed her as Prabhu, but she had no demand to be called Prabhu, you see. We demand to be in the front, and then later we demand to be in the back. The problem is demand, you see. Actually, women are so close to Krishna consciousness by birth, by life, by society. They are much closer to Krishna consciousness than men. It's that last little step that's so hard. It's like, it's usually the life most of us don't get into. We're very, very old. What's that? You're looked after, you're given service, you don't have to be involved in argument, you have so many things. You can actually live what is a real life of a devotee. Humble, serving others. So many people get the chair. You see, the chair, we say in India, the chair. They get the plaque, you see. They get the zone. These things have sent hundreds of devotees to the grave, you see. Just like when there's a war, We don't, at least in old days, you don't tell the women, okay, grab the bayonets and go. It's like, no, that wouldn't happen, you see. So why you want to fight for that bayonet? You can get killed out there. But in your natural position in society, you're protected, and it's so easy to become Krishna conscious from there because it is the position of a servant. The men, they run the risk of thinking they're in charge. They're not in charge of anything. Nobody's controlling anything. Everybody is simply trying to whittle down the ego and come to who they are. I'm a servant. I'm a servant of Krishna. And to actually be that, I must be servant of his devotees. Servant, we should only hear this thing, call me servant, not call me Prabhu. That is a spiritual defect, you see. We clamor for things, we want things that are not good for us, you see. So we should understand, what does it mean to be a servant? A deeper understanding of things. As I mentioned earlier, what is prasadam? What is the holy name? Even if you're going to crash, Hare Krishna, that's namabas. You're just about to die, and you chant Hare Krishna. That's namabas. That's not shuddha-nam. Shuddha-nam, you would have already been chanting Hare Krishna. You wouldn't have just shouted it because you thought you were going to die. When, if you look, study closely, Prabhupada explains, all acharyas have explained, one shouting the name in fear. And that is called namabas. Namabas may even give liberation, but be careful. You could end up in Vaikuntha. Only Shuddha-nam gives love of Krishna, and only those with love of Krishna go to Goloka, and there is Prabhupada. There in Goloka. There is Nabadweep. There is Mahaprabhu. There are your lords, which you're worshipping in your temple. They're not in Vaikuntha. They're eternally in that world. Oh, what is the holy name? All the things that we do in Krishna consciousness, we should take them. We are not for awe and reverence, but we should deal with all things in Krishna consciousness very reverentially, you see. The Achman cup, do you know what it is? It's an expansion of Anantasesha. So how you will wash it, and how you will place it in the drying rack when you're finished. Just throw it in, with some disregard to that spoon and that metal cup. You'll deal with that in any which way. No, it is the Lord's paraphernalia. It is a spiritual expansion of Ananta. You should deal with that in a most regardful way. You see, but a lot of times we try to enter into that, we become a little imbalanced in that too. We get a little weird. You see. Nonetheless, the opposite side, just dealing with everything as it has no substance, no meaning, everything is just a rollover and it's happening. That's a mistake. The holy name, most particularly, how we deal with the holy name. Practically, we're ready to cut someone's allowance, at least if they don't chant 16 rounds a day. But over the year, it is the number that has risen to prominence. We forgot the other part of the sentence. Like in Christianity, they quote one part of the paragraph and not the second. Srila Prabhupada said, chant 16 offenseless rounds every day. And when he says offenseless, he's not meaning namabas, because namabas is the offenseless stage of chanting. He means shuddha-nam. Because he is not about a movement of namabas and simply liberation, you see. He is about a movement of love of God. And love of God only comes through shuddha-nam. So when he says offenseless, he means chant purely. And he has said, if you can chant one name purely, that may be that is perfection. And so we should endeavor for purity, not just for numbers. And when he reached New York, he said 64 rounds. That was his first request. Chant 64 offenseless rounds every day. The first devotees, when they first started, they were asked to chant 64 rounds. They couldn't do it. But here in this civilization, immediately you better be out there early to meet the rush hour or be in the rush hour. There's so many demands in this world. So then he thought, 32 rounds a day. This they could also not keep up. Then Prabhupada said, 16 rounds a day and a full day of service, you see. Fully engaged in service. and 16 rounds. But not just a number, you see. And if one can do more chanting, that is also very nice. So, all the things that we do have a deep connection to Krishna. Nothing is just ordinary, not even your dress. Do you know if you are a real follower of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you should offer your clothes first to the deity, then you should wear that cloth? This was followed in early ISKCON temples. I remember in 1972 in Denver, we used to buy all this cloth. It was always synthetic cloth, and we'd buy these big bolts of cloth for the brahmacharis, the brahmacharinis, the householders. We'd buy all this cloth, and then we'd carry it in and we'd offer it to Lord Jagannath. And it would stay there for an hour during his rest or something like that. And then there'd be a big cutting it up party, and there would be dhotis and saris and everything for everybody. It was offered. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote this, actually, in one of his last books. He said, I will only wear as cloth that which is the remnants of Lord Jagannath. So he only takes cloth which is offered to Jagannath. So maybe we don't do every one of these things, but we should, as I say, even down to our clothing, try to enter into a more conscious awareness of what we are dealing with. One of the defects is we have arranged the life and we deal with it objectively. There are two types of dealings, objective and subjective. It's a little bit of a subtle zone to understand, but basically objective is you work hard and you earn a living, and subjective is you just got an inheritance, $10 million. Subjective means it just comes down to you. Krishna consciousness is only subjective. Our endeavor doesn't actually produce Krishna. We have some minimal endeavor, but ultimately it must come down from Him. Love of God is situated in the heart, but no matter how hard you work on it, it doesn't come out. What you have to do, or what I have to do, is clean all around that. Clean out the anarthas. Work on that process of purification, cleaning the heart. And that is an independent substance. It will grow of its own. It is not of this conditioned world. Prema, love of God, is of that world. And it will come down and it will fill the heart of any person who has made his heart suitable for residence of Krishna. In the pastimes of Gundicha, cleaning of Gundicha, Prabhupada explains there in the end, according to the purport of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. What is this? Gundicha is Vrindavan, and we want Krishna to bring him to Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu wants to take Krishna to Vrindavan. So first he cleans Gundicha. 3 times he cleans? Twice or 3 times he cleans the Gundicha temple to show that we must come to the point of anartha nivritti. We must purify the heart of so many misgivings if we want to offer a seat to Krishna. If we want that love of Krishna to enter the heart, we must purify ourselves. So Krishna consciousness is subjective, but we are dealing with everything very objectively. Technically, you should not even serve yourself prasadam. Technically. If it can be arranged, you should not smorgasbord style prasadam. All right, Christmas marathon and so many things are going on, and sometimes we make changes because it's practical. But what happens is that change just sticks forever, and that becomes a standard. Prasadam should be given. Prasadam is also not to be served by bhaktas. Prasadam is actually only to be served by initiated devotees. Who can serve the Lord's mercy to another living being? Somebody off the street just came in? Well, come on, serve prasadam. Oh, it's not possible, actually. Do you think you could just catch anybody? Come on, serve Prabhupada prasadam? No, only the sannyasis, only the older ladies, older grihastha men, older devotees. And if someone is in Maya, they're going to serve Prabhupada prasadam? No. Only some devotee of some devotional status. So prasadam is not just there, what it is. There's also the act of giving that. For example, if you go there sometime, and Prabhupada is there, and he's on the Vyasan handing out cookies. Maybe you got a cookie from him when you were a kid. And also the temple president, he's at the door Oh, don't worry, Prabhupada, I'll give you one cookie. I'll be back for this one later, and you'll go there. Why? What, is it just because you can say you got a cookie from Prabhupada and all that? No, that's not what it is. Why? Because that is the Lord's mercy being given out by the Lord's devotee. So you have the double potency there, you see. The Lord's mercy, the temple president, also the Lord's devotee, but we'll take opportunity when available to connect with the higher devotees. And then this will be very good for us. So, in the old days, in the Gaudiya tradition, a Brahmin doesn't change his own Brahmin's thread. He has to remove one thread as a Brahmin puts on a thread. And then also japa. Say his japa beads are lost. Okay? You go to the market and buy a pair. Go to the temple store and buy a pair. Right? So in the old days, then a devotee, he will take those new beads to some respected devotee, which he feels genuine respect for. It may be a much higher devotee. It may be his guru. It may be his guru's godbrother. It may be his own godbrother or godsister. But he will take the beads there and ask Prabhu, please bless my beads. He doesn't just take from the shopkeeper at 90 or 108 rupees, you see, and start chanting on his beads. Now if you watch what happens to devotees when they lose their beads in Vrindavan, what do? They take them to the Jamuna and they offer them to the Shantaras section. Jamuna is a Shantaras bhakta. You see. But the idea is like, these beads just came from the market. Let me sanctify them. So they all go to the Jamuna. But those who have more faith, that faith will tell them, go to a Vaishnava, ask him to sanctify those beads. That will be better than even putting them into the Jamuna. But you can see, just in the regular movements, we feel that we've got these beads. Now what do we do with them? We want to purify them. We want to sanctify them. So we take them to something holy. There is nothing more holy than a Vaishnava. They even purify places like Vrindavan. They purify the holy places. If we go to Vrindavan, we feel one of two things. Either we're fired up or disgusted, or both. I wanted to talk to you after. There's a McDonald's opened in Vrindavan. Full-fledged McDonald's. Ronald McDonald, 35 feet tall, full golden arches, a car park for at least 100 cars, floodlights at night, music. It's just a little outside Mathura. It's still in the Brajamandal. You see? Terrible. Nobody has said a word. It's been there almost a year and a half. No one has said a peep anywhere. Anyway, that's a separate subject. But what is it saying?
Either disgusted or fired up.
Oh yeah, so we're either disgusted or fired up. So we see that, we're disgusted. Oh, we see Krishna Balaram temple and these things, we're fired up. But what does Prabhupada say? If you read, again, I started by saying, look closely, pay attention. Everything is there in a minute detail. But mostly, we're going right over it, you see. Like I sent Govardhan into the room to find something, and he went in his room 3 times. And then I went in the room and picked up a box, and it was right under the box. Be thorough. Be very thorough when you read Prabhupada's books. Pay attention. There, I forget exactly where, he says when the pure devotees go to Vrindavan, they feel great separation from Krishna. When the pure devotee, those who are absorbed in love of Krishna, they go to Vrindavan, they feel separation of Krishna. And we're piling off the bus, yo, and screaming and running to the restaurant or something. And we think we are in Vrindavan. That is not Vrindavan. That is some other place nearby, but that is not Vrindavan.